Greetings, everyone. My name is David Phillips, and I direct the program on peace building and human rights at Columbia University.
مرحبا herkese ناویمن دیوید فیلیپسه و از کولومبیا یونیورسیته کولومبیا آشتی چکرن ناوندا آشتی چکرن ریبدبم.
We're very pleased and honored to have General Mazloum join us for today's discussion, which occurs at a critical time given the security challenges in North and East Syria.
ام پر که خوشن کو ایرو جنرال مظلوم به مرایه دوی روزین خطر دا پر مهمه او جوینا.
So let me explain to you the format for our discussion today.
David, could I interject quickly as a technical thing?
Sure.
I believe General Mazloum has an interpreter with him there too. If he can do the English-Kurdish simultaneously right by General Mazloum, it might actually make this much quicker and easier.
That's fine with me. General Mazloum, let's have your interpreter take the lead, okay?
All right, so you want me to interpret from Kurdish to English, and Jirwan will be interpreting from Kurdish to English, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha.
Sounds like a good plan. So the format for our discussion today involves translation on both ends. I'm going to start the discussion with some questions of General Mazloum. And then after about 15 or 20 minutes, we're going to open up the discussion and invite our guests to ask their questions. Agreeable with everyone? Good. Well, assuming that's agreeable, let me once again reiterate a very warm welcome to General Mazloum. We know that our Zoom conference is occurring at a very difficult time in North and East Syria, and we're grateful that you have taken some time to be with us. I'm going to start the discussion now with some questions, and then we'll open it up for questions and answers and invite our guests to participate. So my first question for General Mazloum has to do with the overall security situation. On the 19th of November, Turkey initiated an aerial bombardment using F-16s and drones, as well as artillery. Has that been continuing? And has it put civilians at risk?
الخطر ديانا.
سؤال بس كده براسته او حملين دوامش بترزات البيجام دوام بكن تداوم كرن دمك يوصل روشي هوية ونروشي مباراه مرة هوية او جني كتير شغل فقط تشتي انا جاري كدين تيرجي او بحمي هوية خبر دوام بكن شو دسبيكي خطر وانا جي خطره وانا حمكن دين ما حدود حمتنا قصف كرن ودسا يجبرين داربون شهادتي مهر سبيلانجي وعسكرانجي هر شيء دولن وتداوم كرن.
Yes, you're absolutely right. The air raids and the bombing is continuing, and the Turkish government has also said that they will continue to do so. And so the air raids are consistently have been continuing over the last few days. The villages near the border have been under attack consistently, and we have casualties, both civilian and military casualties, that are still occurring on a daily basis.
Let me invite our guests to use the Q&A function to ask any questions. If you do that, you can get in the queue now. My next question for General Mazloum has to do with conditions on the border. Mr. Erdogan has said that this is just the beginning. Are there Turkish troops and their jihadi proxies massing on the border? Are you concerned about a military incursion that would target Kobani or other cities in North and East Syria? What's the situation as far as a cross-border attack is concerned?
تركان رجحمي هزك بيدا جري قاتنا هزي هزوانا سوري يكون جيران كارتين يكون قاتن بري مرة بيبقى بيورا قتنا خامدة بكن حاضر بكن أو نجنا وحاضر بكن عمودة بكن وأرتش تركان جي هزي قال سر حدود هم راخي كوباني هم جي راخي الشهبة وهم بجي هزي قال زي ذاكر بدك خلاص كده زي ذاكر.
So they've definitely indicated and signaled and ordered all of their Syrian proxies to prepare for an offensive. All of them are now fully prepared, and we can follow that and see that. And on the other hand, their own military forces, the own Turkish armed forces, have also been amassing a huge number of forces and equipment on the border too.
حمد علي وانا تقريبا كشف حمد علي تفرنا بارك حضرتي اخوي ابدي كان حضرتي اخوي تثبيتي نقطه كان كشف اخوي كان دسالهم هم الاركي ماذا جي تقريبا تفرنا ودي كان واهم جي صار حدوثي ايوه تفرن بالطبع جينا نقص صار حدوثي دوام دكين طبعا جي اشارتك وانا يعني حضرتي اخوي بو بريسونه كسر عربتك.
So we can see that they are fully preparing for an offensive. Their constant reconnaissance flights and their reconnaissance efforts we can follow very closely. So all of these show that their preparations are in full swing for an imminent ground offensive.
Are you in touch with U.S. officials in order to share your intelligence with them and to ask the U.S. to intervene to prevent a cross-border attack?
بالطبع تواصلي هنا بمؤسسات الامريكيه هنا يعني هم شيء عسكري الجامعه ونظرتي انا بخرج دي شو بين بدرجي بخواتي ضد المشاهدين هم جيب رايداري سازين وان سياسي البيت الابيض وزاره خارجيه وطبعا وانا ايوه دوام دكن قبل ما جيت بيد اركي حرتم رابورين حرتم رابورين شكل الدوري ديجينا وان واز باركم انا جنها الصورات انا صورتي وضعي.
Yes, we have regular contact with both the military representatives here, both military and political representatives here, and our friends, our comrades, are providing them with regular reports on what we're seeing on the ground as well. But I'm absolutely certain that they too are following all the developments very closely.
Mr. Erdogan justifies this recent aggression by involving the Syrian Democratic Forces in the bombing on Istiklal Caddesi, November 13. For the record, can you clarify whether the SDF was involved in any way in that bombing attack?
نبرج ما دوبك يكن أنا جام جارك جام بس كورد بيجن تعلق وقت ما بن دور دنا نزت مثلا نينا بحمي أجاي كنت أنا كرام جري راجعندني بيسن برج أو مشار مذاكرة بيرك هاتي كرن سموكي شاركي ترستي بالنار بتكن وأم أجاي جرا راجعنا تركيا بيسن حتى أنا همي أخبار النابين كهاتنا در باسبون ده رقادنا تركيا ده إيكو بحث كرنا مجي سروان لي برسين شكر يجي مجي لي كورين سروان دان كرن أنا حتى أنا كي أغير كتن دسنا وكشكابكو جالكي جكري ومروبي خوجي أنا براني با در كتن داعشينا أو خوجي برنا بداعش طبنا داعشيرا زوجينا أو كلك مروبي واجي نهاد هري من عقني يكون بدسي دولتها كتة وتيكلي واجي نسلره أنا قاعد إنه تركان دهودان أمنا سرواجي لكوريت كم درك وليش بس كذا لبي أم أكيد كانت خازن بيجن كنت تيكلي ما حتى أم كان بيجن تيكلي إذا كردي ببيت شالكيرا نينه شو حتى ناجي كسي كرد ببيت شالكيرا لأنه بيون در وصبي نجي كساتي قرتنا أم باور دكان أبشالكي هذه كسي أبشالكي كرنا أبي كافسانير تشيك كرنا أبجبونا كوبا إيش شيء كنا لسه ما تكرن جبونا كجبوبه مشروع بكجبوبه.
So we have stated before, and I will reiterate now, we categorically deny any involvement whatsoever in the Istanbul attack. From all the public reports that we've been seeing, all the publicly available data and information that the Turkish government and the Turkish media have provided, we've been able to investigate through the information that we can actually see publicly. We've made our own internal investigations, and we can see that the people that are under arrest and are persons of interest in this attack, in which we have deemed a terrorist attack and condemned it as an act of violence against civilians, we can see that these people have absolutely nothing to do with us and are more affiliated and associated with ISIS through marriage, through their interactions with people who have been in ISIS. So with all the publicly available information that we have had, we have received, we've been able to conduct our own internal investigations, and these are the results. We have found absolutely no connection to our forces whatsoever. And as we say, we have denied outright any involvement. But with more the data that becomes available, we'll be able to continue our investigations to shed light on this attack that we believe has been conducted purely and used purely as a reason to attack us here. We have made a public call for a public investigation on the attack, and we have also said that we will provide all and every possible help that we can to any sort of a public investigation.
The FBI, the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation, has the capacity to assist in investigation if they're requested either by the host government or by members of Congress. Would you welcome U.S. involvement investigating the incident on November 13?
Without a doubt, we are open to that.
So we've documented extensively collaboration between Turkey's National Intelligence Agency, MIT, and jihadi groups, including ISIS, over the years. If this is the case, why would ISIS launch an attack these days that complicates their track record of cooperation?
I'm not vision coel يعني داعش كريه ما يسيقو سنة ما قلتي كو كسي كو أب كسنة كن أيو كتركان نبي وان دانا أو أنا خلفي وانا يعني باشي وان خلفي وان تيكلي وان بري داعش من داعش هنا أو ويت فيجن لبري هناك براي وقابل بكشكا كنا تيجي كوبا بيركري أو أنا بن تركيا أو أنا دبنا ارتيشا نتويا سوري او كنا بتركي ركارد كنا بوندانا دويدر كي كارد ماشين شيء ما قلتي ام كسي يكسر تهم لكن فقط ام فيجن يعني تنا ام اجهددا وبلكي تركي باشتر زنبه بشيه ان اف وير هاتي كرنش بنا كو كيف خدمه التركي وكو تركي كان به او تجي ما بكي يعني او بيرسونال تجي ما بكي.
So I'm not necessarily saying that ISIS conducted this attack. All I can say right now is that through the publicly available information that we've seen, this person, the people of interest, the persons of interest, the suspects of the attack have connections and are associated with people who have previously been active in ISIS. Right now, though, we can see that the prime suspects, brothers, uncles, are even today or previously have been members of the Syrian National Army, which is backed by the Turkish government. And so that's why we believe that ultimately this whole incident has done nothing objectively but serve the Turkish government's aspirations to attack us here in northeastern Syria.
We also believe it serves a political purpose. Now, as Turkey prepares for national elections, Turkish nationalists are unified around their dislike of Kurds, and this is a way of mobilizing support for the Justice and Development Party. So we don't put it past the AKP to have somehow staged the event as a way of disrupting the political process or gaining support for its political agenda. Do you have a view on that?
تبلد مش بركنا إيكو جي فايدتك إن كسي كونات خازن لتركيا وبارس دجمة أوبراسيون أبكن أنا احتياجي وان هي كو شعوري قومي لتركيا بيش كنا وكباب البجارتين الكشيمة كان بالسركب يعني تخازن أب يعني بكل الأحوال حرتم أب أوبراسيون أم دزانيتي كبخدمتي البجارتين كوير حزراني وريك برن كشيمة جبركو أنا احتياجي أكبر وقومية تركا مهبة أو أنا يعني بروشكي بيرنجي نتوي شوف بنيسكو كانوا بيشكل لتركيا هي بريو باريسونك بيرنجي تبرد كبي خدمتي وان لسه أبكاسي أنا بارا كارد كان لسوري أبي بقول لكم بصلح ورا كارد أو أنا أو مدانا تشتكي وصابك نتباركوا أوجد خزن وباريسونك صراحة سوري.
So first and foremost, this whole incident benefits people who want to crush us militarily, who want to actually attack and invade our lands and attack us. And you're absolutely right. The current government, the AKP and the Turkish nationalist MHP would absolutely relish an operation against us Kurds here to boost them and consolidate their own base in the run-up to the upcoming elections in Turkey next year. And also the factions here in Syria, who are backed by Turkey, would also relish the opportunity to once again attack us militarily. So there are several different layers here who benefit from this incident being blamed on us and used as an absolute excuse to once again attack us here.
The Syrian Democratic Forces have really served as America's boots on the ground in the fight against ISIS. We've seen reports that 11,000 of your fighters have been killed and 23,000 have been injured. Can you characterize U.S. cooperation with the SDF? And are these numbers accurate as far as your sacrifice?
أنا رقم راسنا برقم دمك الشهر 11 كبسرك ده حضر المصداق أنا هيدي واتش غينا بيجي شيء اللي مزح شيء أنا شيء اللي ما يكو كشتي ما دنا قصد ده حضر دار واسكرنا هجماري كي مزنا هجماري كي بلين درجي مزنا براستی و یعنی امو ارتشا امریکا بدرکی سر عبدی افضل کاری که دنیا مشاندن او ناری کاری مدکل شری دیجی داعش و ناری کاری که باشه و هترا دز مشاندن لبلی انی با دیدانی که داوید چه بونه تاریخ ترکا چه بونه اون فوجر نبونه اصلا و ابا دیدانی که هات نکردن ابا شری میل دیجی داعش باندور کردن هیچ امریکیش برکی کردن خطره و هیچ کوب امریکا را کار دکن دیجی داعش اوشی کردن خطره هربته او گرگه یعنی امزان هرواسی که امریکا هی دیجی اپریشن که سر عرضه هرواسی خوبی باشه لبن هم باری دانه و دولت ترک اگر پشکی ضعیفی ببینه و او که هر بقازد اوزان خود دوام بکن شبونه به خاصة كما اب تقتي للسر المجتمع الدولي نابل كتيبات امريكا السر تركان دوام بكن حطاني تركيا جارج باريسوني ده شيء بقدر.
So the numbers you gave are accurate. Well, were accurate up until 2019. That was a number of martyrs we had in the fight against ISIS. But since 2019, we've had more casualties and martyrs. And the number that we have is just over 12,000 right now. And again, you're right. The US and us, we cooperated very well in the fight against ISIS. We conducted the fight against ISIS together, and they supported us in this fight. However, right now, with the Turkish attacks that we're seeing, although the US has a position that we believe is right, they are against any sort of Turkish operation here. They are yet to really forcefully prevent an operation by the Turks, and we are hopeful that while the American position is a good position in which they do publicly claim that say that they are against any sort of an operation by the Turkish army, we hope that there could be more pressure in really solidly preventing a Turkish operation, because we know the Turkish government, if and when they see any sort of weakness from the US administration, they will be more than willing to invade our territories again.
Let me just express appreciation for the sacrifice that the Syrian Democratic Forces have made. We are deeply grateful to you and your colleagues for the efforts you're making on behalf of the anti-ISIS coalition. I did see a report that in order to mobilize in opposition to Turkey's pending offensive, that you have suspended your anti-ISIS operations. Can you confirm that?
انجام التبعيه كنا برشي سلمتين اكرن يعني جبركو هي زي ما كنا بتحرك ريكورد كنا ديجيتال شيء يكون حبسان باريس نحن شيء يكون قام معسكر بوليه خيمه باريس شيء يكون دار نظر الشركه لكن عم حبيبنا هذا الشهيد دان جواهزه ثانيه ده ولا ما الشهيد كتنقل لك مسكي حيجده كاس بريندار بون جواهزه كنت لك يكسر بامريكا كاري خد ماشين دابا فلسطيني خيمات وشاركين ده وهذا ما جيت اوجي يكش بربي هيك سبب اساسي بابو وتبعيدي وهيز ارجع خبط باريس مثلا هاري كارد كي ادو منجي ابريزين ما كنا بامريكا كارد كنت فراني خوش عائله من سر حدودن الكوبان يعني اللي بوجاني دي تنسر حدودن اوانا جي مجبورنا بارسنا عائله قبل كن مالبات قبل كن شركه تبعي خزي اب خواتي ما حباش بالتحالف انا جمديه.
So first and foremost, the Turkish air offensive targeted the very forces that our forces that are on the front lines conducting the fight against ISIS alongside the Americans. These were the very forces that were attacked by the Turkish air offensives. We have casualties and martyrs from the front lines against ISIS, the very forces that are fighting ISIS to this day. And secondly, the forces that are on the front lines, our fighters on the front lines who are fighting the war against ISIS alongside our American partners, have all their families live along the border. All their families are right on the border with Turkey, and they are at risk of any Turkish operation. So they've had to leave the fight against ISIS to go back and defend their families and homes.
What's the status of Al-Hol camp and other places where ISIS families or members are detained? Are you concerned that ISIS members in Al-Hol will take advantage of this opportunity for a prison break that would exacerbate conflict conditions?
جربری گفت که کسی که خیلی مهولت پاراستن که تریت کار واقعاً شهادت چه بون بریندار چه بون اول چه لازم نک چه بود پاراستن ده نک عائله داعش اولدن رویش کامپ مسکر درکتن البته دم که بیشتر هزیمه ابلکاری اونا کارم جاری کردن بگرتانا ام دزانن و پیش روجا پشتی به اینه که بسکریک درکتن و که بسکریک نداره کامپ قدر کتن کامپ هولی ست حبسان داجی عینی بسکریک نه و دائما گلک آگاهی استخباراتی گرتنه آگاهی مهنه و داعش لبنده ویرش که سر عرضه چه به اونا جکانه بن گلک هم هناك حبسان داد حوالي ده هناك كانوا بن تبلها که چه کر فوضى که بدن چه کرن و عصیانه که بکش بکو كانوا بن خلص کن آگاهی استخبارات اكيد نه و هناك حبسان داد داعش دخازه و که دخازه او ويرك وكي بري بيشن مال حسك شيء بو عسيانك مثلا حبسه شيء بو فازم جاره كدين الشيء قصه بدن كرن بيجشتي داعشنا البنديه كو فرسن اكثر عرضه شيء بيج بو كوجو قالبن اكتيفيتي اخوا يعني خبط اخوا دا خورتر فرتر.
So in the initial bombardment by the Turkish air forces, the camp and the security, the prisons as well, the security forces that were essentially guarding these places were targeted, and we had casualties and martyrs in those attacks. This naturally created a weakness in the security of these areas, and we had families and people escape from the Al-Hol camp. They were subsequently detained by our security forces a couple of days after, but we do also have intelligence that ISIS is actively preparing to break out many prisoners and are waiting for a Turkish offensive. They're actually planning their course of action in accordance. They're expecting a ground offensive and will carry out their own planning if and when the ground offensive takes place.
Is there active cooperation between these ISIS cells and ISIS families and jihadists who are backed by Turkey or with Turkey itself?
اكيد هي جبرك بري ويرك بري شيء دركت ورتم انجم تحققت ما دركت ورتك وهي دزان بري بس ما هي كي يصل عسيانك تحبس حسه كده شيء وهنا قدام وقت يشكر انجامي لبرسيني ما دركت ورتك حرس جروب بتوهاتن شبه حبسه كرنا هي ما متخسري كاني تخيكنا اجرت بجنب السلام او جي كنا ترك لي ضاغر كرنا عبد سوري جور هاتن حمك سيكون هولي درجان جديد درجان او يكسر بري قدنا هري مسري كنا بري من كنت بدس تركي درجان وين تركي انا ظن قال لك اميري داعش وهريمان قال لك جروب اسلام راديكال ودركي هنا والتحرير الشرقيه جروب ديتر داعش نوفوندنا وبري مراد كاردكن تبي كاري كنا برتكرن قسم بشكل مازن كورنيلي هو جروبين يكون داعش نوفوندا هي رخي هريم داغر كي عاد يسري بورتيك.
So yes, our previous investigations, previous experiences have shown that there is definitely coordination at those levels. The prison break, the beginning of this year in Hasaka, showed us very clearly, and we found evidence that this was being coordinated from Syria, which is now under the occupation of the Turkish government. And so we see all this coordination between both the SNA, Turkish-backed groups in these areas, and ISIS, who are actually operating through these organizations that are backed by Turkey, and especially organizing freely and showing a presence in regions right now that are under occupation in Syria by the Turkish government.
So we've publicly called on President Biden to issue a statement condemning Turkey's aggression and to send Secretary Blinken to Ankara to warn the Turkish authorities that there will be a big price to pay if they attack the SDF, our allies in Syria. Are you satisfied with the US response? To our knowledge, the US has been publicly silent on this most recent aggression by Turkey.
لا هو أروسك إيه البيت داوي دخوني إيه سازين أمريكا تشيفون يعني إيه أودجي على قدر طيبة خارجي وبنتاغون أرتشي تشيفون أروسك خدنا خويا كرن أم دزاني جمرات بتنكو التواصل وان أصلي أودجي يعني التواصل وان جي هبه أصلي وزارة الفلسطينية والتري بونا رأي تشيفون بالتركارة بالي أم ديا يعني ما واج أمريكا ديفيجن إن أب هالوس كرك دوا تشتر به هالوس تني كدين هالوس كرك ورد دوام كرن كرك ضغط كتير ورد دوام كرن أم ديا ديفيجن أنا إيرو أردوغان أجر كو زعيفوني كبتشوك فراغ كبتشوك ببينه هالوس نتيجة هيبتي أمريكا ده بمغامرة كبيرة جدا شكون أبي أم أبدا أنا كوجرك الوستن أمريكا هم دوام بكير وهم جي بورتر بي.
So yes, we do see a position from the American administration. They've made this very public at all levels, whether it's off the podium in the Defense Department or the State Department. They have made their position very public that they are against any kind of operation. And I think in our meetings, we've also seen this position that's been relayed to us too. But I would like to say here that the Turkish government, if they see any sort of hesitation from the international community, especially the US, then they are more than ready to conduct this operation. So what we call for from the US administration especially is to continue this position, a stronger position, to make it much more clearer and stronger, to make their position much clearer and stronger, and to be very persistent and to not show any hesitation going forward.
Have there been any US casualties or attacks against US forces? We understand that one of the artillery barrages came within 130 meters of US forces working with you on counterterrorism in Tal Abyad. Can you confirm that?
أمسا بيجن أمريكا داخلي خدان كرن قلت إن با أوبريشن كتير كرن قوتي ما تكون خطرين الراسته يعني با أنا حركتي بخاطر كرن قوتي أمريكي هذا كرن خطرين راسته يعني جاي كي هزين أمريكي تشوفون جاي كتركالي دا بقول بدر كي كنترول بكين بنيرن يعني هزين أمريكي جوه كده راكتو كان جاري كده وهدف أنا قصكرن بدر كيجي يانزا مدني شهيد كاتن أو مدني قوتهم بدر كي يكون بقول أو نزكي هزين أمريكي من ساجي جاكي قاعدة مشترك وهزيمو أمريكي بهدرة كارد كرن بدر كي برورده دان هقولي ما أوجي هاتنا دافكرن هربتن أفجي يعني أفكار بيجن هالي أبلا كاري دا يزد كي ريسك لبالي أن يكسر الحزب الأمريكي ناطق هذا.
So the Americans have acknowledged themselves that their forces were put in danger on one occasion. Very dangerous it was. Although they weren't attacked directly, they went to go and investigate a place that was hit, which the Turkish government hit again while the forces were very nearby. And in that incident, 11 civilians were killed. Separately, a joint base that we've used here together was hit as well. And as you know, the Americans have publicly acknowledged that their forces were put in danger. But as of yet, American forces have not been targeted directly.
How has the war in Ukraine affected the US and the international response? Has Turkey leveraged their alleged role as a mediator to try to dissuade any strong US reaction?
روسيا مدبنين تركيا حتى إلى أقصى حتى درجة داوية خازنج روسيا ناخد نابر شري أوكرانيا روسيا دو أو بكي يعني بدأ شغلان شيء فايدة بكي وبروجهم هذا كده لسر روسيا جي زح ضغط دكيت خازنج وانا تعويضا تنازلات بقريش بكون بيتر بدر كي بكي لسر أمريكا جي أيوان هي يعني سر أمريكا جي بيوجد خازن روسيا ناخد عقد نابر شري أوكرانيا ده بيبقى كاربينه وأنواع شركة أشق واضح يعني تأخذ كرن تخازج بروج الشري أوكرانيا تخازج فايدة بك شيء كده فاكتور شيء بك تركي تفكر كي جبركو أو آخر رول آخر بوسيون أخذ الشري أوكرانيا روسيا ده فكر كي كوفيكو شيء كده فاكتور بك يعني جنبيجن حملة كده كريتا تفاكتور بك ودولات يخرج كارب كنيجي بين كارب أمريكي بدل مشانتن أم فيجد فيجن أنا أجركو دولة تاريخ تركان يكسر أبجار يكمل شيء بثلاثة يكرن أنا سازين بدركي سازين بترولي سازين كهرباء سازين آبي سازين بدركي بس هدف تجري أو نجي أو جي يكشي بندري شري أوكرانيا روسيا.
So yes, I think we can say very clearly that Turkey has been able to leverage its position since the Ukraine war to the maximum effect, and on both sides. Essentially, Turkey has been able to leverage that against Russia quite extensively, has been able to really be able to, has given it a free hand to do anything it wants, essentially, here in Syria with Russia's tacit approval. But also against the US too, as some sort of a mediator. Its position vis-a-vis Ukraine has enabled it to try, get the US to acquiesce to certain things too. So we can see that very clearly since the beginning of the Ukraine war. And in terms of what's happening here is that I think Turkey believes that through the Ukraine war, it's given it a unique position to be able to enforce and implement some de facto situations here in northern Syria. And I think that's what we're seeing play out over the last few days and weeks.
We've been critical of Turkey's role in Ukraine. It has failed to impose sanctions on Russia. Also, oligarchs from Turkey are using Turkey as a place to park their luxurious yachts and their funds in Turkish banks. So we've been very critical of Turkey's role playing both ends without really supporting the US or the international coalition that's fighting against Russia's aggression in Ukraine. There really isn't a question there, but let me frame it as a question. We have extensive contact with members of the US Congress. You have a very capable representative in office in Washington. Have you been able to reach out to members of the US Congress and provide them a briefing on current conditions and the risks that Turkey's cross-border attacks present to the SDF as well as to US forces?
براسي وتراس بيجي راسي محالتي ما يعني هنا كرم كتنا أبتي كل يوم تخزن بجودي خاجي دوام كمبري مكتبة من واشنطن وأمشي بقى هلوستي إيه كونغرس وإيه سنات وإيه ترام أمشي جرين ديبني هربت أنا بيجي ده محالتي خد دوام كبير.
Yeah, definitely. Our work is continuing in Congress and the Senate. We see the stance and the position that was taken up by many members of Congress and senators as a positive thing, and we believe it's very important. Their statements and their position is going to be very important going forward.
So we invite you to the United States so you can speak to a prominent audience here, and we would work with both your office in Washington and the Washington Kurdish Institute to try to highlight the close relations between the US and the SDF. So please consider that a formal invitation. We hope that when the situation improves, that we can welcome you here.
أما كيف خوش بين وأسباس كنج بوا توا.
I'm very grateful, and thank you for the invitation.
Well, our students would love to meet you, and US officials need to hear directly from you. So anything that we can do to amplify your message of cooperation and your support for democracy, you can count on us to do whatever we can.
أمشي كيف خوش كم كان بندرور وانرا باخذ نيري خوش وانرا بفرق.
And we would definitely appreciate the opportunity to be able to share our views face to face one day.
Are you getting enough cooperation and support from the Defense Department? Is there something in particular that you've asked for that that has not been provided? We'd like to amplify that request if it's possible.
براسي وأنا وزارة الدفاع وجيش أمريكا سر الشري شاشبا شري ديجيتال شيرها بدان أبترا كاري المشاندن أبا كرا دوام دكي هبتن ما بقدر كاري مازن كرا بچن سال نظر كاري مازن ددنا مشاندن ويرو خطر داعش هل درا أو تردبه يعني كرا تردبه خور تردبه هبتن أبا إنجبان ماجي هر آریکاری ده بتر گرگ به یعنی مارین از بارت کم به هجماری من هجمار عسکرانی بتر گرگ به ایبت با خطر داعش بحق نزیده تر به بتر گرگ من امکانات ده بتر گرگ بش بکم کانه من تبای او تجی داعش کانو اوی کم مزن کاری کم مزن بدم مشاندن دست آخری اساسی اوه بش بکم کانه من تجی داعش افتکشون خو هفش دوام بکن البته گرگ يعني وزارة پارستنجی گرگ اوجی نفوسی خواهی اجابیشن اتکی خواه رولی خواه بتشورا منکو شبکو با ایریشن ترکان سربی هرمی خاطری ترکان بده سکنان.
So we've conducted a significant joint operation and work with the Defense Department. The fight against ISIS is still ongoing, and it's a very significant battle that I believe is intensifying actually right now. And we first and foremost want this cooperation, this work, this very significant operation to continue going forward. We want that commitment for the foreseeable future. We believe that the Defense Department has to increase its presence here to strengthen the fight against ISIS and increase its support logistically also in order for us to be able to conduct the fight against ISIS much more effectively. And also secondarily, definitely for the Defense Department to put its foot down and really use all of its influence to stave off a renewed Turkish invasion and offensive, so that we can continue our successful cooperation against ISIS.
إضافة بكم سربي زيادة بكم دراسينها إذا شركة لديجي داعش نتني شركة عسكرية وشركة استخباراتية الاستقرار جي مهمة جبل به يعني إشكالية جبونا إدارة كنا البدر كي هالي سياسي ده هالي أبوري ده وإشكالية جبوا إدارة بدر كي أبا بتر بخارقان باستقرار الشيء أبا كرن استقراري أو بأريكاج بكم شركة لديجي داعش بتر بأنجام بقري وأمكانه بن
And so I'd like to also add that the fight against ISIS isn't only a military fight. It's not only a war of intelligence. It's also one of, it's an economic battle. It's a political struggle. And it's one of stability. So going forward, we would definitely encourage anyone and everyone to also further and contribute to the political, economic battle against ISIS as well, because this is essentially where this ideology and organization gets its start from.
Has the United Kingdom been friendly to your interests? Are they providing hardware and military assistance? Is there something more that European allies can do with the US to strengthen your hand?
بريطانيا جبوا مسيري حبسنا الكاري مكرن بورتنا براسيا وأجر وكي زي كي ناف شرده وناف شركة وده أما هرتم بيجنكي يكرك آریکاری ایکو عسکری بوم بکن تهیبت شهر مجلسی تاش گرگ ده زیاده تربیت ها خورد تربیت مهربه بخوازن و گرینگش بکن کنه به تکوشینه پیشخینه براستی و یعنی ام و ابی داویدا و مثلا ابو داویدا هلوستن ای دولت غربی تهیبت جبنا و ایرش لامبر ایرشی ترکان ضعیف بلواز بود مقارنة بكم بأمريكا اللي ترى ده بترزقه ده بترلواستر بحتى دخلنا ده أو مجوانا دخل مجوانا بهاي بري حرتشتي أو نجي شركة ما شركة تجي تعيش أنا هذي وان بدر كان الجمعنا تبي أبرز خاصم كهنا إنها بس كده آخر باندور دولة الترك الأمر دولة الترك بكن وشبكوا بي إيرشيب بدن راسن.
So the UK has contributed and supported our efforts, especially in establishing the prison system to detain ISIS members. But we definitely call on for a more military support in the fight against ISIS from these states. And unfortunately, in comparison to the US especially, the statements, actually lack thereof, there haven't been many statements. Their support and their opposition to a renewed Turkish offensive has been very weak, especially in comparison to the US.
Well, let us join your voice in calling on the UK and other European countries to be more proactive and more robust in supporting you. One form of support could involve humanitarian assistance, although it's not a replacement for security cooperation. Are you making plans to deal with internally displaced persons from Turkey's attack? And what kind of plans are those?
وراسينا ما تنا تركيز ما لسرابة شو كان بإيش تركاب السكين ذاك الكريب السكين شبارك تحمل كمانين كموجة كي نزحة دي تر شخون هذات يا جماعة كي مازال إيه نزحة هيك وبارك سري قاني هاتنا اشترابي هاتنا عفرني هاتنا أبنانكم وأنا خدي بكن شخون منظمات إيه نف دولتي جي منظمات إنسانية جي أنجو إيه دي تر دستان بجن إيه أبدا الأمم المتحدة أو ناكل أريكري كوني جديش وكسي كويس باهر ما دركت ندرنين أجر نزح كنوش شيء أول سر دربي طاقة ما به أنا ما إيه برا نكاري ما بكن ببرنامج كوي برا ما نكاري تمام بكن بربيجي أجر نزح كنو هو شيء كن راسي حضرتي منين شبركو تفتي ما نين أدباركم هو كاريسك إنساني شيء.
I mean, our resources are already severely strained from the last Turkish offensive. We have internally displaced people from Syria that we're still unable to cater for right now. We are not enough. We don't have the resources to take care of the IDPs that we've had from the most recent, the last Turkish offensive. So any renewed operation would be a humanitarian catastrophe because unfortunately, there aren't very many NGOs or governments who are willing to support our efforts in trying to house and help the IDPs from the last Turkish operation. So a new one would definitely be a humanitarian catastrophe.
If you have any data about the humanitarian implications to Turkey's attack, we'd be very pleased to share that with international NGOs that provide assistance. We also are working on the ground with organizations that provide psychosocial counseling, and we'll intensify those efforts.
Yeah, we'll appreciate everyone doing their own part.
So let me just say in closing that we feel that Turkey is targeting North and East Syria because its model of grassroots democracy, of women's empowerment, of environmental sustainability, and of democratic federalism is abhorrent to Turkey's centralized and dictatorial system of government.
I 100% agree with you.
So at this moment of challenge, we want you to know that people of the United States and members of the US Congress and the US government stand in very strong solidarity with you.
زمان تحذر النوزده برغم قرار يعني برغم وجي يعني تحذر النوزده مثلا كونغرس وسنات وقالك قال عملت مشكله مره ما يجي بيعالج شيء يعني ويجي بدك دستك دوام بك وكان بيصير ما تاخذي ضغط بك شو بكون او نجي كان بيرشد الكبسك.
We saw in 2019 the immense support of US Congress, both sides and senators too. We hope for that to continue in the same vein and hope that will also stave off an operation by the Turkish army.
So much more than a good security partner, the US and the Kurds share values about democracy and of tolerance and support for human rights. And I want to convey our admiration, not only for your fighting spirit, but also your democratic spirit that has brought Kurds and Americans together in common cause.
Yeah, we definitely saw that very clearly in our fight against terrorism.
So you are a good friend and a strong partner. I want to convey my respect and my admiration, and also my thanks to you for taking time during this very busy period to join our audience. We will share this discussion widely. It has been recorded, and we will make the recording available to important media and opinion leaders in the US.
اجي حمي جودي كون كان ام بسبوس كان ام كيف خوش نكون دوستي افتخر دوستي وقت هو هنا وحمي جودي ام بسبوس كانوا ام هي بدي كم هبدرا ام كاري خو ام دوام كان حطاني كو ام روجي زحمت در بس كان وام باري ام حتى داي باهي.
I would also like to thank you for this opportunity, and I'm very grateful for your friendship, and hopefully we can continue working together in overcoming these challenging days ahead.
We will continue to work together. I want to send a message to you and members of the SDF and the people in North and East Syria that you're not alone, that we stand in solidarity with great admiration and friendship for the task that you have taken on.
زور سپاس بو.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Bashi Bashi. Best wishes to you and to everyone in North and East Syria for peace and prosperity and continued cooperation with the US and the international community. With that, I'm going to adjourn our meeting and thank you for your time. Thank Giran Özkan for his translation, and also thank your team for coordinating and translating on your end. So thank you very much.
اجي بس كم وقت مره بقطان واهتمامي بالسلامه وقت ما قلت حرتم دوستي وقت مسال برنده ام يقدر ما اقدر حطاني ام بقين بعد ما اخويا ما يقدر دوامك.
And I'd like to lastly just thank everyone for their interest in these issues, in our issues, and hope to continue the work going forward.
Okay, well, very well. Thank you all. Have a good afternoon. Stay safe. And I look forward to visiting you in Rojava so we can continue this conversation face to face.
So General Mazloum says we are inviting you as you invited us, and we will be very happy to receive you here.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Goodbye. Thank you.
Okay. Bye now.